basically, if I get a nice clean piece of metal here, top and bottom, and a nice clean piece of metal there, I should be able to go away with about a 1/4 inch hole to weld in with the wire feed. If it's dirty, I'd probably go a little bit bigger than that, but as long as it's nice and clean, you can get a lot of penetration quick. So I'm gonna trim this up. Oh, so I got a cold. Nose is messing with me. And then clean that up, trim that up, clean it up, whatever I gotta do. Basically get both panels sitting in there so we can get them set in there to weld.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility.
All right, just finished up the floor pans. Basically, we trimmed them all up. I decided to go there. I left the bend. It's actually in the aftermarket pan, so I didn't really have to try to mess with that edge, and I came up just about a 1/4 inch. You can kind of see we're just barely hitting some of our bead rolls here, so I'll probably take my little die grinder, grind in there, getting that corner a little bit better. But basically we're going to seam seal all this pretty heavily like they did. Probably fill this if I don't think it looks good enough. Put a little skims coat there just to kind of hide that weld, and then left this here so that it's in a nice sharp bend, so you won't notice that as much. Rather than if I try to cut in that bend, and then it's going to be way too hard to grind. And this here I can kind of punish out a little bit. Then that overlapped, this overlapped that, and then that overlapped that, and then we got it all welded in there. And then, so that's looking pretty good. Went ahead and welded up a few of the holes that were there. I had some screws, some weird screws in there, and then some stuff in a couple holes along the top edge of that rail. So that kind of buttons up that. I'm going to grab the welder. I'm going to weld up these trim holes like we did on that side, and then make a plate for this. And I don't really have a whole lot of room to get in there and hammer and dolly that, so we'll just use I shall probably still drag the soft wire over and do that big hole with the soft wire, so then I can get in there and push it out and kind of move it if I need to. And that's kind of it. I'll have to clean this hole up here. So again, they had something on there before you take it to sandblast, which is not really sure why. You know, you usually want to pull this type of stuff out. Like this thing here is going to have some rust underneath it, so I'll have to try to get this off. These are always stuck. Usually you have to get creative on getting those screws out sometimes, but it is what it is. I gotta get my cart fixed before we put the top on it, but we've got a van to paint, so I'm not gonna pull that top right quite yet. I just want to get everything kind of buttoned up around inside, or around the outside. Oh, and we gotta weld these two heater holes for the warm heater hoses that go into the heater core. So I'm going to run down the side of that, probably try to get those two welded up if I can today, and then
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath.
Before I went home, my SD card got full, so I had to go and dump a bunch of footage. So anyway, we got all the trim holes. That one welded up. Actually, pretty cool. It didn't pucker up just a little bit, but when it's on the rotisserie, I'll reach in there and hammer and dolly on that a little bit more once it's in the air and I can get my arm. Otherwise, I'm kind of laying there with one arm out like this, so I'm down on the ground. I think we're going to put a rocker on this one. This one's not looking too good. It's got some damage. I'd like to get it up a little bit more in my face. We do have a rotisserie for it. I just want to take it out to the sandblaster, do one last final blast on it, because it's been sitting who knows how long open, and as I could see some rust spots, like this is rust here, and then they, like I said before, they didn't even peel all the stuff off before they blasted it. I need to take this seal off because I'm sure it's rusted underneath there, and some odds and ends like that to get all the seam sealer out. I got the door on, gotta play with this door jamb, get that welded up. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come through here, weld up our trim holes on our fenders, and then I need to fix, like, this hole is not supposed to be there, and these 3 holes are not supposed to be there. So I'm gonna plug weld these in and then get that one fixed. And then I think that pretty much wraps up. Oh, and I gotta do this fender, trim on this fender here too. That will pretty much wrap up the fabrication part of this, at least the rust repair, other than maybe a couple odd little ends. I did see some goofy spots like that right there. We're gonna have to try to figure out how bad that is. And then there's a little bit right here. So just a couple little smart slip spots like that. And I'm hoping that after I send it back to sandblast it, it'll open the rest of the way up, and then I can deal with it from there if I can just weld the hole in, or if I gotta cut a chunk out and put a new piece in there. I just want to get it sandblasted one more time, because, and then you can kind of see here, you know, I like to get rid of all this stuff. I could probably sand it. Unfortunately, sometimes some of that stuff's on the inside of this panel too. So, and then underneath this here, we'll open this up. I don't think they even sandblasted in there. So just little stuff like that. At least get the body over the blaster and then get it up into epoxy, so then we can start our body work. So that's the plan on that. But anyway, for now, I'm going to work on our fenders. That's what it is right there. Tempered glass. It's nice stainless steel frame, and out of the box, and a little bit of a mark right there out of the box, so we didn't do that. Kind of got a brush look to it almost. Nice clear glass, don't see no big scratches, nothing goofy in there. Alright. Well, I actually think that'll be okay. I think it fits in there. If I had a screw holding in there, and I don't know, you know, without getting some measurements here, or how far that actually is without all the hardware. I think we just wanted to make sure that the aftermarket wing window would fit in the aftermarket hole. Let's see here. Hard to hold the camera and do this at the same time, but we're 22, just under 22, just right at 22. But I think that once you tighten those 2 screws at the top there, because this hole here is just off just a little tiny bit, and once you tighten that screw and pull that tight, I think that would be what you wanted. So